Heavens to Betsy.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube and Twitch channels. I am back, yes, once again, and I was gonna do Mortal Kombat, but Charlie, Moist Critical, put out a video, like pretty much a half an hour after I stopped the stream. So we're going to cover that instead, and you know, I guess we'll have to put off Mortal Kombat for either till later or the morning. We'll figure that out when we get to it. But right now, it's apparently Charlie has responded, and we're going to take a look and see exactly what he said. And I have not watched it. I do not know what Charlie is going to say. This is completely a dang late to the party. When did this happen? Oh, Lord Famine just got missed. I'll have to do subs or presses. for Lord Famine. So before we do anything, I will do the sub, or the presses for Lord Famine. Because that's what we do when we get a sub or a resub. We do the 10 overhead presses. So let's do that. And then we will figure out and see what Charlie had to say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whew! Alright. Now we can see what Charlie has to say about everything. Okay. Let's go over to our window. So this is called Moist Critical Situation is Crazy. And this is, like I said, this is going to be a completely fresh watch for me. So let's see what this has to say, what he has to say about this. All right, here we go.
Heavens to Betsy, what a week, huh, sports fans?
Heavens
Holy
to
Toledo.
Betsy.
Yeah, so Moist Critical's in a big oopsie-poopsie situation here. It reminds me of the time in Moonfall when K.C. Houseman sacrifices himself and dies
No
of
idea
cringe
what
to become the
Moonfall is.
moon. Yeah, so, being serious now, since this has become such a big issue, I've been in a lot of drama recently. I'm in hot water, and I'm biting on the fart bubbles that pop up in the bathtub here. It is a lot. So let's start with the most recent one today. My retirement. I didn't know I was retiring. That's news to me. I'm as shocked as all of you are.
Yeah, apparently him stepping away from like 2 of the 8 billion projects that he's doing for a little bit is him retiring. Yeah, I don't understand what that's about. I'm glad to hear the sarcasm in his voice is still good and strong.
I had a ton of fun last night playing a game called Clickleding, which is basically like a cuckoldry simulator, but for clicking against like the Lorax in a hotel room.
Okay, that's
And I just
hilarious.
did like an old school gameplay commentary video. I was bubbly, full of jubilation. I posted it today only to learn that I'm just a big old fucking liar. Liar, liar, plants for hire, I suppose.
So Clickleding, he played his. Okay, this sounds weird. You just got here? That's okay. We're just going to cover the Moist Critical response. I don't know if we're doing Mortal Kombat tonight or in the morning, but we are right now doing Charlie's response.
Apparently, and I didn't know this until I posted the video, everyone was under the impression that I was quitting the internet. So I started scratching at the hair on my chinny chin, wondering, when the fuck did that happen? Was I sleepwalking? Do I have somnambulism? Is this some kind of, like, you know, Fight Club situation? Instead of, like, Tyler Durden, I have fucking Charles Turden here? That's just
Charles Turden.
Announcements.
That's hilarious. Charles Turden, he comes out when Charlie's asleep and he's just, fuck everything, I hate the internet.
It turns out the patient zero behind all of this was a post Jackson made announcing that I would be leaving the podcasts, which is something I thought about periodically for quite a few months now, mainly because I started to recognize that I was becoming the very thing I'd make fun of with being chronically online. Like, I just was always online, and the podcasts were a big proponent of that, and I just kind of wanted to scale back the amount of time I spend online. So
that makes sense. He's not saying like he's angry at his co-hosts or anything like that. He's just saying, I feel like I'm online too much and I want to scale that back and go be outside more and go do things offline more. That doesn't mean he's done and he's retiring and quitting the internet, blah, blah, blah. And I will say that listening to the Asmongold video earlier, even I kind of was reacting like he was stepping away and just what's it? I'll switch to Twitch for reasons. That works. But yeah, I was kind of reacting as though Charlie was more done than he actually is. So I find like that I'm guilty of that for sure.
And I kept Jackson in the loop the whole time here about where my head was at. And last week I told him, hey man, I think this is going to be where I hang up the jersey. You can put it in the rafters, throw it in the dumpster. Right? But I think I'm just going to be, sailing off into the sunset here and just reducing the amount of stuff I do online. Which he completely understood. So he made the announcement just letting people know that. And then that got spun on Twitter and Reddit as Moist Critical's taking an indefinite hiatus and
he is done with not having personal time. Yeah, exactly, Spittle Buggies. He just wants some time to be able to go and do his own thing. That doesn't mean he's done with the Moist Critical brand and he's done with OTK and he's just done with the internet. He's just stepping away from two of, like I said, the 8 billion projects he has going on.
Internet, fundamentally. Don't know when I'll be back. He's done with the internet because of all this controversy. Patooey on his grave. He's gone. When looking at the post, I don't even know where that's coming from. It's literally just talking about the podcast and me just stepping away. Like, yeah. It doesn't extend beyond that. I can't even wrap my tiny noodle around how anyone could perceive this as me being done with the internet entirely, but that's the story that they ran with, and that
I will admit that even watching the Asmongold video, I was kind of a bit more like, I didn't think Charlie was done with the internet, but I did feel like it was more final than this. He is kind of laughing at the fact that everybody's like, oh, Moist Critical's done with the internet. So this is good to hear that he's kind of laughing and jovial about this and going, I can't believe you guys actually think I'm done with the internet. It is nice to hear the sarcasm in Charlie's
and that's what
voice.
most people saw, not the actual post. So everyone thought I was quitting the internet, so I posted that video that I was really happy with because it just felt like an OG old school video that made me happy. Mm-hmm. And then bang! Just a flood of comments and dislikes all saying shit like, how could you fucking deceive us? I thought you quit. Huh?
No.
What happened to leaving, huh? I just read this post on Twitter from an account that had a profile pic of titties photoshopped onto Thomas Edison that said you were done, and it had 50,000 likes, so I know it was true.
Hilarious.
And you're just a fucking liar. I can't even just
They're
peacefully
actually angry that he's not quitting when he never said he was quitting. And they're hate watch. Oh, what the fuck? They're leaving hate comments because he's not quitting when he didn't say he was going to? That is insane. Holy shit.
walk away from some projects without it being a massive fucking reaction over actual Nothing Burger information.
That is ridiculous.
And trust me, no one has a palate more refined for Nothing Burgers than me. I have ranted about the stupidest shit of all time, but this was mind-boggling even for me. So to set the record straight, no, I'm not retiring, despite what the experts are telling you.
The experts.
All I did was walk away from a couple of projects.
Yeah, the experts of people who I just can't even fathom leaving a comment that's angry that one of your, like, people that you're subscribed to isn't quitting. Like, wouldn't you be like, hey, I thought I heard that you were quitting. Glad to see you didn't, like, glad to see that's not true. Like, wouldn't that be a comment that would make more sense to leave than, you know, you liar, how dare you not quit? You know, like what the fuck?
Like, that's really it. Like, that's a pretty normal thing to do, especially when one of them I've been doing for, like, 8 years. I really
Holy
didn't
shit.
think it was that deep, especially not deep enough for
That's a
how
long
big of a
time.
story it's become with all of the wild narratives running around about the true reason that I stopped doing it. So let's get into that drama. I've talked about it on stream, I don't even know how many times at this point, but we'll just talk about all of it in this video here. So, when covering the Ava Tyson situation, I was attacked by a lot of people for not being quick enough. Even though I covered it within
Not
like the first 6
being
hours,
quick enough.
people were unsatisfied that I hadn't made a video within like the first fucking 20 minutes of it dropping.
What was he supposed to do? See the very first, like, mention of Ava and the leaks and just jump and make a video before he knows more than a grain of information? Like, I would think that 6 hours is a fair time to cover something.
And then when I did finally finish the full video covering all of it, it was
Oh my
another
goodness.
massive problem where now I only did it out of an obligation because people called me out, and then I also got accused of being a transphobe because I didn't use Ava Tyson's preferred
course.
pronouns, which were she, her. I didn't know that. I thought just calling Ava Tyson by her name was okay, and I had also heard when I went to the Mr. Beast thing, someone refer to Ava Tyson with they. So I was truly under the impression that that was okay.
So he said they? He didn't even say he? He said they. Oh no. Oh, isn't that what the alphabet crowd insists you do if you don't know the preferred pronoun? You just default to they? Isn't that what I thought? Like, I could have, I don't understand what the alphabet people want anymore. I really just, I don't.
And for that, I was annihilated by a good chunk of Twitter.
That's crazy.
And then annihilated by another good chunk of Twitter because I called out Sneeko, who was the main proponent about me covering for Mr. Beast
Ah!
to keep the collab alive. I wasn't talking about
Covering
Ava Tyson,
for
but I
Mr.
wanted the
Okay. Covering for Mr. Beast. Okay. I don't see how that's even. They use the they correct as. They use the they correct. Wait. Oh, they use they use the they correct. Default isn't Charlie. No. No, exactly. The way he used they was the actual correct usage of they. So I don't know why they're bitching.
Mr. Beast collab. And I talked about how absurd that statement was, especially given his history with fighting against the age of consent. He's been very vocal about how much he hates the age of consent, and so I talked about that briefly at the end of the video, which then changed the whole narrative for a lot of people where I never talked about Ava Tyson and only talked about Sneeko.
Okay.
So it was a complete lose-lose, because if I didn't talk about what Sneeko was saying, I would have been called a coward for not addressing it and
Yep.
talking about, like, well, he was going to cover for Mr. Beast until Sneeko called him out.
That's true. That's very, very true. He would have. There was nothing Charlie could have done in this situation, apparently, without the internet. Just apparently, it is Charlie's turn. No matter the fact that Charlie is one of the most, not edgy, like, makes the most innocuous jokes and statements possible. And apparently it's just Charlie's turn to have the internet hate mob after him.
So, like, if I didn't do it, I would have been attacked. I did do it, still got attacked.
Yep.
It really was unwinnable. But from that spawned a conversation where I talked to Sneeko directly, because he was very upset that I was talking about how him rallying against the age of consent is pedophile arguments, like
It is, though.
defending pedophilia. As I've said since the very
Excuse
beginning of
me.
this channel, I'm always willing to engage with people I disagree with, and I thought that maybe there was a chance I misunderstood what he was trying to say, even though
No. You didn't misunderstand. He does not believe that there should be an age of consent. Like, all of the things he was saying are things he seems to believe.
it's still abhorrent. I thought, okay, maybe he's not actually trying to defend pedophilia. He's like some kind of pseudo-intellectual debate bro who's trying to
No.
say something else. So I was willing to hear him out on it, and I talked to him in DMs, and he said he doesn't believe in the age of consent. He believes in the age of marriage, can't assign a number to it, but said that when someone can legally drive, they should be able to marry at the same time. Which is literally like a
Okay.
15 or 16-year-old, because you get your permit at 15, your license at 16, and
Yeah.
both are way too young to be marrying. That shit is
I would agree, because marriage is more than just having sex. Marriage is like learning how to respect each other and help each other and be there for each other in good and bad, and be like all of these nuanced and reciprocal relationships that most adults have trouble with, let alone a teenager. Like, come on.
shit is completely unacceptable. It is downright disgusting. He then said that he was happy to discuss it in a call, which I said I was
Hello,
willing to hear him
everybody
out on,
that's
and he said
trickling
that
in.
he'd do
Welcome
it
to
later
the
'cause he was
show.
outside doing an IRL stream in Turkey. So I was willing to hear him out, because again, if this is some kind of crazy misunderstanding, I'd like to know that, because it'd be really fucking scary for someone in his position with his level of influence to be
Ugh.
actually advocating for adults marrying and fucking children. That's
Yeah.
a huge problem. That's a big
Big
fucking
problem.
So if there was
Big
something
problem.
that he was like trying to say but failing to do so, I was willing to at least hear it. And this is where the infamous debate came from. The debate that people are calling the debate of the century.
The debate of the century that Sneeko lied about, didn't actually present it as a debate, and completely caught Charlie off guard with.
I'm kidding, not a single soul on the planet said that. It's actually
No.
one of the most dog shit
It's the
debates I think
worst
human
debate
beings have
ever.
ever had. He eventually called me on Discord. I was under the impression this was just him and I talking. I had
Never
no
be
idea
under
this was
that
going to be a
impression,
debate. I
Charlie.
thought he was going to try and explain
It's
himself
always
like,
a
hey,
debate.
no, this isn't actually what I meant. This is what I'm trying to say.
It's
I thought
always
this
a
was a
debate,
conversation
dude.
between him and I, not this kind of debate show that he was putting on for his audience. There is nothing in our DMs that indicated that's where it was going. When I joined the call, he asked if I was going to record it, to which I said, I can if he wants me to, but I was also down to just talk. So
Which means that Charlie doesn't think it's a debate. He's like, I don't care. I can record it if you want me to. Like, what's the big deal? Meanwhile, Sneeko is streaming the whole thing.
I thought maybe he wanted it as a recording to, like, explain to people, like, no, he's not actually a pedophile defender
Oh,
or advocating
Charlie.
for that kind of thing. So I thought that is why he asked. I didn't know it was because it was being streamed. Especially because one of his last DMs was about how he's doing an outside IRL stream and he would call me after. To me,
Oh.
that says when he's done streaming. That's
So
what
he even said he was streaming, but made it sound like he wasn't going to be streaming by the time he called Charlie. What a dirty little shit.
we'll talk. Not as a part of his stream.
Holy
I didn't
shit.
know this was a debate nor a stream
What a
until about
dirty
an hour
fucking-
and 40
what a
into
dirty
it,
play.
roughly somewhere in that ballpark. I am not a debater. I've never claimed to be one.
That is
I never
dirty.
want to be a debater. I've always said that I believe conversations are the most productive because debates always devolve into what side can score the most points
Yep.
by explaining their thought process, even if the position is wrong.
True.
Whereas a conversation is a very different thing to me. So I didn't even know that's what this was. So obviously, I was unprepared for a fucking debate. So I
Yeah.
entered into the Thunderdome and we started talking. I made it clear that I found his statements on the age of consent and children marrying adults being fucking hideous.
And that and Charlie, when Charlie was making those statements, it was almost like Sneeko knew, well, of course Sneeko knew that Charlie didn't know this was a debate, but also that Sneeko kind of knew Charlie was accusing him of certain certain things, and he was like skating around the whole pedophilia question. He was skating around, like, why do you think that this age of, or lack of age of consent should be a thing? Why do you think a 15-year-old should be able to marry, even if it is another 15-year-old? What is it about them that makes you think that they are capable of being in a marriage at 15?
It's absolutely revolting. And then he started arguing about, well, what is a child? We must define a child, you know.
That was
it's
really
not actually
weird.
being under 18. It's all a bunch of hooey. And I really think
That
if you
was
have to
very
start
disturbing.
arguing about, well, what technically is a child? You're already way too far gone. Like, that is so fucking weird. And in no uncertain terms, multiple times throughout the debate, Sneeko says that he is okay with people that are aged 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 marrying adults that are 18 or
that's
older.
not okay.
There are
We're talking globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for, and I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore, anyone. Do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was both good on both families and they wanted to do it, why am I going to get involved? Why?
Oh God! So if say somebody who's 25 has groomed, let's say somebody who is 15, and for some reason the parents are like, yeah, you guys can get married. I don't know what parents would say that, but let's pretend that they exist. You're saying that you'd be okay with a 15-year-old marrying a 25-year-old if the parents and everybody consented. That's insane, Sneeko.
Why should we get the government involved?
absolutely
Even
insane.
get back a little bit. Do you think there's not a problem with a child being with an adult?
Okay. We haven't even agreed upon what a child and an
We
adult
haven't
is.
even
You keep
agreed
saying- you
on the
keep saying that it's
definition
18.
of what a child
child.
is.
And I'm
Over 18
telling
years
you,
old.
that's not
Holy
even the
shit,
definition
Sneeko.
of the word.
What is the number?
That
That
Just tell us
depends
the
on
number,
what
or
the
else you can do
word
the same thing.
is.
I just told you there's not a
Yes.
number.
But do you see why that's a problem?
No.
That if there's no defined... So why can't a 12-year-old marry an 18-year-old?
Because most 12-year-olds haven't gone through puberty yet. And most 12-year-olds...
What if, as you just said, it changes? What if a 12-year-old went through puberty early, the parents consent, the 18-year-old and the parents consent? Can they do it?
Most likely that's not going to happen. You know why? Because Islamically, if
We're
the-
not talking most likely. Just say it.
Islamically,
if the families have...
Islamically. Oh, you hear that? Of course it's Islamically, because Sneeko just can't. He's gotta bring Islam into it. He's gotta bring Islam. I mean, Charlie's not using any kind of religious argument, but Sneeko's gotta bring Islam.
Most likely that's not going to happen. You know why? Because Islamically, if
We're
the-
not talking most likely. Just say it.
if the
Why?
families have consented, the kid is mature, the kid is ready. Why should I
At
stop it?
12 years old. At 12 years old.
If the kid if the kid is physically mature, the parents consent, both parties are
A
happy.
12-year-old
A
being physically mature.
12-year-old being physically
If it's
mature.
that's the only line that actually makes sense.
What? That's the only line that actually makes sense. Holy shit, Sneeko. What? How did I miss that part? That's the only line that makes sense? Oh my god. Oh my... Ew. Sneeko. Ew.
Again, I don't think a 14-year-old can ever be physically mature.
Even though they literally can. Even
No,
though,
they
even though
literally
puberty
can't.
actually defines that. That's fine.
I don't believe so. I was 14 once. I actually had a mustache when I was 14. Would you have looked at me and said I was physically mature enough to get married?
If you were physically mature, if you were mature, yes, I would. Okay.
What?
Really? When I was 14,
Yeah. If you were 14 and you were ready to go and you met another 14-year-old,
If
yes.
you were
No, no, no.
14 and you were ready to go and you met another 14-year-old. Oh, no, I love how he's moving the goalposts again.
If you were
Well, a minute
physically
ago
mature,
it was
if you were
because
mature, yes, I
it
would.
was a minute ago it was an adult and a teenager. Now it's two teenagers together.
Okay.
really? When I
you're
was 14,
Yeah. If you were 14 and you were ready to go and you met another 14-year-old, yes, I would.
no, we're talking adults. You keep going back to that.
That is adult.
I met
That is adult. No, see, he keeps saying that a 14-year-old is an adult. So two 14-year-olds is two adults, but I can see what Charlie's trying to argue is that no, somebody that is 14 is not an adult, and if you are advocating for an adult, like an actual adult, to be with a 14-year-old, then you're gonna have to own the fact that you think that somebody in their 20s, possibly 30s, should be able to marry a 14-year-old if they are done with puberty.
Told you my definition.
So,
I told you
a
the
14-year-old
definition.
adult.
The definition.
Okay.
If you went through puberty, you're an adult. That's the definition of adult. So yes,
Jesus.
if you're an adult and you got a mustache, you're ready to get married, fine. Okay.
Unironically saying a 14-year-old
If you
adult.
have
How the fuck did nobody catch this?
If you-
No. Stop. How did nobody catch this?
I don't know.
Sneeko just said, if the family and the parents and the children and everybody involved, then it's okay. What the fuck did Charlie say? And what have I been saying the whole time about what sounds like most of his answers are?
He said the exact same thing about
Sarcastically.
right. But Sneeko is not saying this sarcastically. He means it.
I think would make most sensible people want to puke. There's so many instances of this, and a lot of the conversation was spent with him talking about like overseas age of consent, like talking about how Japan's age of consent was 13 for the
Who
longest
cares
time. This
about
and
that, though?
But the whole thing was like pulling teeth, and it was fucking painful. And I think it's extremely alarming perspective to have.
It is.
Unironically calling a 14-year-old and 12-year-old mature enough for a marriage.
And especially when especially when he's like saying that if the parents, like Pincalo's right, saying that if the parents consent and everybody consents, then it's fine. Meanwhile, Charlie said that about the trans thing, and he only said that because he was either being sarcastic or didn't actually understand the depths of what happens with child gender affirming care. But I don't think he had the same like intent behind his statements as Sneeko did. I think his were much more of a light kind of tending towards the sarcastic bent. Sneeko is just deadpan, like, no, this is what I believe.
Those
It's
are
bad.
middle schoolers. Like, holy shit. I think that is extremely concerning to be advocating for something like that.
It is.
Like, would Sneeko be okay if his best friend ended up marrying a 14-year-old?
Maybe.
He certainly shouldn't be. No one should be okay with something like that. Like, that's fucking terrible. That is actually terrible. But now, since I wasn't, like, holding him to this topic or making sure it stayed on the topic I thought we were talking about, it went all over the place with a ton of different things. But the big one, and this is what most people have focused on, which was my response to his question about kids transitioning. And
Yes.
the way he would pose that question would be by asking if I thought it was okay if kids who want to switch their gender go to the doctor and get their dick cut off. Is it okay if a 9-year-old goes to a doctor and gets their cock cut off right then and there? And when posed with that question, I replied with yes. And I've talked
And
about
you're
this on
wrong.
stream.
I'm sorry, Charlie. You're wrong. I'm glad that you're saying that you said yes, and that you're not like backing away from that, but you're wrong. To say that that's okay is wrong.
Many times now, and I'll talk about it again here. I thought he was talking in hyperbole. I thought he was just exaggerating, being over the top, talking about the entire subject of transitioning.
No, Charlie. He meant, and I hate to defend Sneeko here, he meant, do you think that it is okay for a child to go through the entire process of gender care, because it's no longer just therapy, it is irreversible puberty blockers and then surgery? And he was asking if you thought that was okay. And for you to just assume Charlie is a pseudo-intellectual. They're both dumb. Yeah, that was a very stupid debate. The way that it was framed, the way that Sneeko brought this up, it was just very stupid. Hello,
I had no
Shrapnel.
idea that any living, breathing human being actually thought that that's how transitioning works.
Because-
where you just go into a doctor saying, I feel like switching genders, and they lay you down on the operating table and just snip your whole fucking meat off.
Okay, well, I'm sure that Sneeko believes that that's how that works, but the rest of us know that children are getting irreversible gender-affirming care done. It may not be surgery, but it is, like, chemical.
I didn't know that that's what he actually believed. I didn't know he was speaking literally. I thought he was just referring to the entire process of transitioning and just using this over-the-top statement to encapsulate all of it. Because you literally cannot get
They
that
literally
surgery
both just
unless
lost
you
the
are
plot. They
18.
did.
Yeah, like, you actually have to go out of your
This
way
is a
to be
literal
that stupid
retard
on the
fight.
topic than you
You're
would just
not
spending a
wrong,
couple of
Shrapnel.
seconds looking it up. There are very rare cases where someone under 18 has had that surgery performed.
But those cases are not as rare as you think, though, Charlie, because there are a lot of detransitioning, like, 20-somethings that got all of the care that you're talking about, including the surgery, as children. And they're saying they wish they're saying they wish that their parents had made them wait. They're saying they wish their doctor hadn't pushed them into doing the puberty blockers and surgery.
That's not common. So I really didn't think that someone could be so dumb on the topic. I thought he was just speaking in hyperbole, which is my mistake. I should have been more clear instead of making an assumption that he was talking about something nuanced in an over-the-top way. I haven't hid this take, and it's not a new take from me. I've talked about this a couple times throughout the years on stream. I have no complaints if a kid gets interested in transitioning and starts talking to their family about it. So their parents start talking to doctors, the kid starts talking to doctors and therapists and all of this, because the process of transitioning is one that takes place over the course of many years. It's not something that just happens like that. And I'm also...
It does not happen like that, but it has definitely been, the process has definitely been sped up to a degree that it was not before.
also not afraid to admit that I am not the most educated when it comes to transitioning. I am not someone that has a ton of knowledge about the subject to be speaking on it in a really in-depth manner. But even I know these very surface level things that everyone has easy access to understand. It is a long process, and I have no problems at all if a kid gets interested in that process and starts going through that process with proper care. And then when they reach the age where they can consider that surgery and decide they want to do it, then that's all power to them. That's entirely up to them. They have reached that age. They can now do that surgery if they want to. That is not a surgery that's being offered to like a 9-year-old who just says, I feel like changing genders today. It's just not how it works. And I didn't think that that's what was actually being discussed because it's so fucking silly. Now, I'm sure there's some really fringe cases you can point to where that kind of thing did happen, but it's not common. Thus, I didn't think that's what was being referred to in the conversation.
Right.
And it is, again, my mistake for not recognizing that at that moment, it was being spoken about literally. So all that shit that people keep dogpiling and spouting about me about how I want all kids to go out there and get their genitals chopped off is just fucked up.
Yeah, that's not what he said. That's not what he said, and he didn't know this was a, quote, serious debate, because Sneeko blindsided him in a really shitty way. And I think that this was just, like I said, this whole debate was just stupid.
Like, it's so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
I recognize I did a horrible job of arguing in this debate, which isn't surprising considering I don't debate.
No.
This is not something that's in my skill set. which of course led to some embarrassingly dog shit arguments. Like the one I've seen people reference a couple times is when I briefly mentioned sports in this topic.
Okay.
It was a stupid point to try and make. I was getting hit by like some rebound psychic damage listening to some of the drivel brain rot that Sneeko was spouting about the age of consent. And I don't know.
Oh, that'll happen, Charlie. That'll happen. Listening to some of the shit Sneeko says, your brain will just go bleh.
Why I thought this was like an argument to try and make, but I brought up sports in this subject, and I was going to try and elaborate on it, but didn't at all. What I was going to try and say is that when a kid gets interested in a sport, they'll talk to their parents about it, they'll research the sport, you know, go through the process of learning about it. And when it comes to transitioning, it's still a process where you talk to your family about it, you learn about it. Like, it was it wasn't a point where I was trying to say, well, changing genders is a lot like picking between baseball and soccer.
Yeah.
Like, it's not what I was trying to get at, but
He was trying to come at it from the research angle, the learning angle. I see what he was saying. I see what he's saying. And it makes sense as to what what he's saying. It is a dog shit take, but I understand what he's saying, like, now that he's explaining it. That makes sense. Oh, good night, Spittlebuggies. Will the VOD be available? Yes. The VOD will be available, yes. So yeah, let's see. What else does he have to say here?
because I didn't elaborate on it and it really wasn't a good argument to try and make in the first place, that's one people have harped on a lot. And
Yeah.
I get it. Like I said, I am not a debater. Like, I didn't go in here expecting a debate. So I had nothing prepared here for this inundation of outrageous questions and tangents. Like, there was a point
Blind, I know you've never seen a hippie, but he smells like a hippie.
where
I
Sneeko was
guarantee
trying to
it.
get me to say white power. Like, the whole thing was a fucking mess. It was, without a doubt, probably the worst debate that video has ever been cursed with. And I really regret not doing a better job here. It's not something I should have even done in the first place. I just have a tendency to really hope for the best out of people, and I was really hoping that I and most people were wrong about Sneeko's perspective on the age of consent.
No. You
However,
were all
unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be the case. He was very adamant about this position, and I did a terrible job in arguing with him, and I did a terrible job of articulating my beliefs. I am supportive of the LGBTQ+, and I have been, and that's not something I've been
Charlie,
shy
no.
about. I just wish I did a better job of expressing
Just be
that.
supportive of
To
the
be
LGBT,
open and honest
okay?
here, and I've talked about this a lot, I've always treated my channel kind of like a diary for myself, which is why I just talk
Leave the
about so much
TQ out
different
of it.
nonsense and so many
'Cause
things
the
that I know a
TQ
lot of people
ruins
don't
it.
give a fuck about, but some of it's fun for me to talk about, or some of it's just things I care about. So being totally honest, I used to treat the internet as an escape from my dog shit real life. Truly unhappy, really hated most of everything about myself, and the internet was my
That's
escape from
sad.
it. But now it's really become that
know how
real
you feel
life
about that,
is
Charlie.
the escapism for me now. Like, I love posting and creating things, but I don't like interacting with the internet around me anymore. And it's something that I started to realize a couple months ago, and I've talked about it on stream a little bit, how because I've covered so many like drama stories and everything, it's pretty much all that I ever get told about when I'm
Right.
streaming, and it's become such a massive headache, and it's just constant negativity that I'm fully flooded with, like,
Oh,
at all
that's-
hours. Like, I am in like this
that's-
human centipede.
That's what happened with me for a bit with some of the news I was getting for the coffee stream. It was just so sad and dark. I was just like, oh, I can't do this.
Of eating someone's ass while having my ass eaten with even more things that I'm being demanded to like talk about, where everything just feels like a lose-lose, and it has been for like the last 6 or 8 months, I feel, where if I talk about something, it's a problem. Even if something is cut and dry as like Cody Ko having sex with a 17-year-old being bad, I caught a lot of shit for that too.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't see that, but man, the amount of emails I got and a lot of the things I was seeing, even something as cut and dry as that was an issue when I talked about it. And then if I
sad.
don't talk about something, or if I don't talk about something fast enough in the time that some people think is appropriate, I'm then accused of covering up for something for an ulterior evil motive. So it just really feels like a rock
The
and a hard
fact that
place
he's
where
being accused of any sort of ulterior anything because he's not covering something or because he is covering something is ridiculous.
Regardless, it's just going to be a massive flood of negativity. And a huge critique of me that I've always seen is Charlie's a fence sitter. He's just a fucking fence-sitting, enlightened, centrist cuck, this and that.
Oh,
and I've always said
Jesus.
for
A
the entire time I've been
centrist
on the internet,
cuck, of
I'm not
course.
special. I'm literally just a normal guy who got very lucky. I just sit here, joke about shit, talk about my opinion on things, and nothing else. I don't have a unique perspective on things. I don't have deep insight into the vicissitudes of certain things. I am literally just a guy who yaps, has some fun, talks about shit, does some wacky stuff as well, and that's it. It's just not that deep.
Yeah.
But because everything is so inflammatory and charged online, it's being perceived in the last 2 years, it's really popped off as me making deliberate attempts to appease both sides and play right down the middle to soak
you
up as
dirty,
much
dirty
as possible.
fence-sitter,
Like
you,
it's all
Charlie.
this like nefarious scheme where I'm doing this with my hands. And I just don't understand how it's become so incendiary where that's apparently like a really bad thing now. My opinion is not special, and my opinion isn't one that's pandering to any sides or catering to anything. It's literally just whatever's up here. I sit down for like 30 to 45 minutes on like a topic or like a video that I'm joking around about, and I talk about it.
Yeah.
I am legitimately just an average,
he's
well,
just a-
below average height guy.
He's just a short shit poster that likes to talk about shit that he sees online that makes him go, what the fuck? That's all Charlie is. That, like, he's not this edgy, you know, nefarious, like, you know, gotta get the edgelord comments in there. Like, he's none of that. None of that.
He's about to turn 30. I'm not just spitting hot takes out the wazoo here. I'm just being myself. That's all this channel ever has been. And now it's become super controversial to do that.
Yes,
if
you
it's
can't
not
be yourself.
like, you know, picking sides on everything, it seems. And it's very frustrating. For the longest time, it was just me having fun. And for the most part, it still is. But I've started to recognize over the last few months that some of the things I do just really aren't fun for me to do, and I've been doing them out of obligation.
So then it's time to stop doing it. If you're doing something out of obligation and and it's no longer fun for you, it's time to stop.
Mainly internet drama. When I initially started covering drama so many years ago now, it was fun because it
Yes.
wasn't as serious. Like the stories were a lot, you know,
They were more
quirky.
lighthearted.
It was easy to get invested because it was kind of just like a soap opera, like a really dumb soap opera. But recently it's been much more serious, and I feel the need to talk about these things because a lot of them are extremely serious with very important topics to discuss. But it has become draining. As much as I never wanted to admit it, I've started to recognize that my mood is immediately impacted by whatever I read on Twitter in the morning.
Oh, that's...
If that's some horrible stuff about a creator
That's
or what
really
have you, it
unfortunate.
immediately affects my entire day and my...
That is very, very unfortunate. I feel bad to hear that from, like, I really enjoy listening to Charlie's content, and I would not wish anybody's mood to be affected by anything that they read or see online. I think that's sad. I think, and I'm glad that if Charlie thinks that stepping away from the podcast at least will help, then that's something he should do. Just take a little bit of criticism, Charlie. Yeah,
my
that
whole
too.
outlook on the day. Now I know, call the wambulance, get some French fries, just fucking whining about having to talk about drama. What a stupid problem to be upset about. But I'm just trying to explain that it hasn't been as fun recently.
Yeah.
It hasn't. And the main thing, if you've been around the channel for a while, is I've always wanted this to be fun
Right.
and never feel like a job. And as hard as it is for me to admit this, a lot of this kind of stuff it has just started to feel like less fun and more of, well, gotta do this because I'm expected to. Like anytime I go live,
That's unfortunate.
most of chat is just telling me about the latest in whatever's happening in the creator space,
And
or
he doesn't
some
wanna
other
cover
like
that.
extremely negative thing going on.
He'd rather cover just something funny he sees, or like those texts, the relationship texts that he likes to cover. But now everyone's like, oh, did you hear about so and so? They're fighting.
Going on, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to learn all about that once I turn stream off. So then I spend a few hours learning about these things, and it's all just really upsetting stuff. Like, it's not happy. It's all very sad, bad stuff. And it's been making me not happy. So I definitely think I'll be slowing down on covering internet-related drama, or like drama in general. I'll still talk about like really wacky stories and shit like that.
Right.
But I definitely think I'm gonna be pumping the brakes on like the kind of drama I have been covering recently. And instead, I'm gonna go back to focusing on the content that I'm most happy with. Like, if you ask me
That's
what
what you should
content
do.
I'm most proud of throughout my entire time on this platform for the last like 17, 18 years, none of it would be drama coverage.
Yeah, you do what you like to do. Like, that's why there's so much Mortal Kombat stuff on my channels. That's why you see like the content you see, because I like talking about stuff like that.
It'd be things like Skynut. It'd be things like shooting a potato at a tennis racket to see if you can make french fries in midair by frying them in hot oil. It's shit like that. And I think I'm going to go back to that kind of stuff as opposed to the direction that I have been going recently. So, yeah, this was a lot to go over here, but I hope this has cleared everything up. And, yeah, that's really about it. So, yeah.
And you know what? I respect that. And I respect that Charlie doesn't want to cover drama, and like that's fair. And the fact that, like, he's not going anywhere, and you know, people again, I'll even say, even though I didn't think he was quote going to retire from the internet, I felt like while I was watching the Asmongold video that it was pretty permanent. But that doesn't seem to be, and Charlie has every right to not cover drama, not cover any of the things that make him upset. Like, covering drama and the internet is going to bring you drama. Yep. It's very true. So, you know, if that makes him upset, then, and he wants to cover things that don't make him upset, that's absolutely something he should do. It's his content at the end of the day, and his channel, and he should be able to tell chat, you know, hey, I don't want to cover drama anymore. Please stop telling me about stupid drama. And I think that's a very valid I think that's a very valid thing to say. I think you should be allowed to not engage in drama farming if you don't want to. Oh my goodness. Now I am trying to figure out if I should just end here and then get up in the morning and do Mortal Kombat on Twitch then. I think I'm going to, because I am really fucking tired. But I wanted to cover the Charlie thing tonight, because we were covering it on stream earlier, and I had a stupid edible that kind of made me all woo. So I wanted to cover this without being all tired and loopy and sleepy. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to get up, because I got up this morning at freaking 5:45. I was ready to stream, but then one of my kids got up at 6 o'clock. and required some attention, so I couldn't stream. So I will be doing the combat hour in the morning on Twitch. So go follow the Twitch channel, and I will see you over there, because YouTube age restricts all Mortal Kombat content pretty much. So yeah, go follow twitch.tv/blindpress. I hope you enjoyed this coverage of what Charlie had to say. I'm gonna go to bed, and I will see you guys early on Twitch in the morning. So you have a wonderful night.